So Nick, for a practice that hasn't updated their website in a while, where should they start if they want to prepare for AI search?
Sure. Well, I mean, first of all, you have to look at the fundamentals, right? So from the standpoint of fundamentals, we know from, a lot of SEO suspected for a very long time that Google was using user data on people's websites. So when someone lands on your website and they start scrolling through the website, how they interact with the website was a ranking factor. But we didn't actually know that 100% until last year when some Google leaks came out. And now we know specifically that when people are using Chrome, Google's paying attention to everything they're doing on your website and then using it as a ranking factor. So the first thing you need to consider is that the website needs to be laid out in a user-friendly manner, and a lot of that comes from aesthetics and aesthetically pleasing them, but also um, conversion rate optimization, right? You need to consider uh, what you want them to do on your website, right? You don't have a lot of time. So when you design a site, you need to make sure that that site is designed so that it has the right calls to action in the right place, right? So, but you'll typically want to make sure that you have a custom site that also represents your brand, right? Because branding, believe it or not, is actually part of SEO nowadays. And if you have a website that just kind of looks the same as everybody else's, and it's just stock photos, you're not doing a very good job branding. It's just the website and your physical space are kind of the foundation, or at least the initial step in your branding. You want to make sure that you portray that correct image to your prospective patients, and that will not just improve your SEO by potentially making more people talking about you on the internet, but it will also improve your SEO by increasing or improving the user metrics on your website too, when people are more into it and find it more appealing and are taking the actions that we want them to.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is making sure that you have unique content on there. So you
Yeah.
mentioned if it looks exactly the same as everybody else's website and then it has the same content that everybody else has, especially if it's word for word. I mean, that was never good for Google anyways. I mean, Google hates duplicate content. Why would they value any information that you have on your website? It's the same as everybody else's. So I think that's the other thing to take a look at, is what content you have on there, and some of it comes down to just good SEO in general, right? Instead of just having broad topics or just one big services page, making sure that you have a lot of that information broken out into in-depth pages, like hearing aid repairers, for example, versus just hearing aids and everything's listed on a single page, right? Because that'll help the AI systems and Google. It was always good for Google too, but it's going to help them understand that this is what your site's about. You're going to have more of that contextual relevancy when it comes to, what information that you have on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, one thing that I sometimes hear when it comes to duplicate content or whatnot, like a counter to it from people that will sometimes push duplicate content, frankly, because it's easy for them to write duplicate content and just copy paste it on the same, is they have their Google business profile, and that's optimized, and that's what makes them show up locally. But the reality is that Google uses the Google business profile. They analyze the data in the Google business profile, but then they actually go through the website link and they use entity search to try and, to link you to the Google business profile, right? I mean, you had to verify yourself in order for the Google business profile to go up. So um, the website itself and the ranking factors on the website actually influence how your Google business profile shows up. Whether or not you have a lot of backlinks, whether or not you have a lot of citations or brand mentions, across the web, how the website's optimized. Frankly, what page you put under the website, the website field in the Google Business Profile, which I see is like wrong half the time. So, it's really important to get all of that right together.
Yeah, it's never just one thing. It's all of those things working together, even having schema markup on there so that the search engines and AI platforms can understand the business even more. It's not that they can't glean a lot of that information, but the easier that you make it for them, the more likely you are to benefit from that.
Absolutely.